And so he walked, exiled not just from the land, but from the light within. His steps echoed with the shame of one mistake, but that mistake would echo for generations, because where ego dwells, pain follows, and pain, when left unhealed, becomes contagious. The pain body is the emotional residue of unhealed trauma, a shadow that follows, whispering the same story. You were wronged. You are unsafe. You must protect the self. And so ego sharpened its weapons: fear, distrust, blame. To Cain, the whispers came quietly at first. People can't be trusted. No one sees me. I have to fight to survive. Life always lets me down. I'm unworthy of love, undeserving of abundance. And so he built his reality around those thoughts. He dwelled in unhappiness. His past didn't just haunt him, it lived within him as memory. But instead of learning from his mistakes, Cain fused with the pain. He let it define him. What should have been a lesson became an identity. His personality, shaped by sorrow and shame, became a prison. He relived the same wounds, the same emotions, again and again. Each repetition feeding the pain body, empowering the ego. Guilt, grief, regret, hostility, anger. This was no longer just suffering. This was hell on earth. Across time, the pain repeated itself, over and over. A word, a slap, a silence, a look. And in that moment, something broke. Something dark took root. One person's pain became a family's pain, then a village, then a nation, until soon, ego no longer spoke as I, but as we, our kind, our race, our tribe, our truth. A false unity built on shared pain, not shared life. We now see that as generations passed, Cain's pain didn't die, it multiplied. His descendants forged the beginnings of civilization. Jabal, master of tents and livestock. Jubal, creator of melody and song. Tubal-Cain, shaper of bronze and iron. Tools became weapons, art became distraction, and innovation became a mask for inner decay. The pain body, once confined to one man, spread like wildfire through his lineage, fueling fear, pride, and the thirst for control. Then came Lamech, the first to claim 2 wives, the first to boast of bloodshed. I killed a man for wounding me, he declared. And if Cain was avenged 7 times, then Lamech 77. And just like that, vengeance became virtue, violence became honor, and the pain became culture. The ego, now collective, was no longer hiding, it was celebrated. After Cain killed Abel, Adam and Eve were devastated. But God comforted them with another son, Seth. Maybe Seth was hope, a second chance, a quieter path. From his line came those who began to call on the name of the Lord, a spiritual awakening, gentle, reverent still. For a moment, we remembered the bridge, the connection to something greater, to light, to love, to each other. But as generations passed, the world grew louder. The children of light began to mingle with the children of exile. And somewhere in the blending, something shifted. Pride returned, power grew, giants walked the earth, and once again the ego took root, pulling us further from the bridge and deeper into forgetting. In the midst of the darkness, when the world had forgotten the light, there was one man who still remembered the bridge, a descendant of Seth. His name was Noah. While others surrendered to corruption, Noah walked a different path, one of reverence, remembrance, and righteousness. And so God made a decision to reset. Not out of wrath, but out of mercy, a chance to cleanse the pain and rebuild the connection we lost. From the vast silence of the heavens, earth turned slowly, quiet, blue, and still. The storm had passed, the chaos swallowed. The floodwaters that once raged now rested, like a weeping mother finally at peace. And from the wreckage of the old world, life began again. The ark, resting on high ground, bore the seeds of new beginnings. Noah and his family stepped onto dry land, not as survivors of wrath, but as stewards of remembrance. The memory of what was became the covenant of what must never be again. In the heart of one man, a bridge remained, and through him, humanity remembered the oneness, remembered the light, remembered the bridge. And for a time, humanity walked in humility, grateful, grounded, remembering the bridge. But as generations passed, the memory faded. The flood was no longer a lesson. It became a myth. And the ego returned in a new disguise. Now united in language and ambition, they sought power, not purpose. Greatness, not grace. They whispered, "We will never be scattered again. We'll make a name for ourselves. Let us build a tower that reaches the heavens," they said. But the higher they built, the further they drifted from the bridge within. They forgot the flood, they forgot the light, they forgot oneness, and once more, the descent began. The higher power saw what we could not. That when we use our unity to glorify the ego, we self-destruct. So he shattered our illusion of power, not to punish us, but to protect us from ourselves. Our voices were scattered, our languages splintered, our hearts even further apart. And so began the age of separation. Had we remembered the bridge, we would have seen difference not as danger, but as divine design. But alas, we formed borders to further separate ourselves and satisfy the need of the ego's us versus them stories. We used a cloth called a flag to give us identity. But identity, when hijacked by the ego, became a cage. With every flag raised, we lowered the bridge between hearts. We mistook nationalism for unity and forgot our oneness. With the collapse of the Tower of Babel, the higher power hoped that what ego tried to build in pride, the soul would someday rebuild in love through shared values, music, art, and spirit. Different languages, yes, but still one heartbeat. Find unity not through sameness, but through compassion across difference. Unfortunately, we forgot we were human first, and instead, we saw colors, borders, enemies. You'd think we learned something after Babel? After watching pride crumble under its own weight, but no, we just built taller towers, not to reach heaven, but to outcompete each other. Empire after empire rose, not from love or wisdom, but from ego, disguised as glory, and each one fell the same way, from the inside out. Oh, some of us thought we had remembered the bridge. So much so, we decided to play gatekeeper. You know, cleanse the world of those who forgot. With swords, in the name of God. The audacity. What started as a holy mission became a blood-stained parade of ego dressed in robes. Love your neighbor? Nah, more like conquer thy neighbor. And just like that, remembrance turned into religious superiority again. And just when you thought ego couldn't sink any lower, it outdid itself. Imagine looking at another human being and seeing cargo. Souls stuffed into ships, shackled in chains, sold like furniture. Cultures ripped apart, languages silenced, children renamed. Why? Because someone decided that melanin measured worth. The logic? Non-existent. The damage? Generational. All while preaching civilization and quoting scripture. Now that is peak ego. We didn't just forget the bridge. We bulldozed it and built plantations on top. As if stealing bodies across oceans wasn't enough, the ego said, you know what would be fun? Taking land, too. So it packed its pride, painted a flag, and sailed off to civilize people who were already deeply spiritual, deeply rooted, and deeply enough. Thank you very much. Languages were erased. Names rewritten. Spirits broken. Sacred ground turned into profit margins. And the bridge? Forgotten again. Because when you think you're superior, you stop listening. You bulldoze the wisdom that was already there. Wisdom written in the soil, the stars, the ceremonies, the silence. They called it discovery, But what they really discovered was just how far the ego would go to feel in control. Oh, you thought we couldn't sink any lower? Think again. We took the brilliance of human invention and used it to build better ways to destroy each other. Trenches, tanks, gas, bombs. 2 world wars, 1 giant ego contest. And just when it seemed like we'd run out of ideas, boom! We dropped the sun on a city. Because apparently, winning mattered more than humanity. Remember how we said the ego craves to be better, to feel superior at any cost? Well, it cost 6 million Jewish lives, and millions more. We institutionalized hatred, turned humans into numbers, and called it order. All because the ego needed someone to blame, to erase, to feel powerful. Recall how we said ego thrives on separation? Well, it outdid itself in Rwanda. In just 100 days, 100, close to 1 million people were hacked, butchered, and burned by their own neighbors. Not invaders, not foreign armies, friends, co-workers, classmates, turned executioners overnight. Because a radio said so. Because an ID card said Tutsi, because hate was handed out like machetes. This wasn't just a massacre, it was humanity in freefall. The collective ego frothing at the mouth, whispering, "You're different, you're inferior, you must go," and we listened again. What's worse? The world watched. The international community cleared its throat, shuffled its feet, and turned away. Never again, they had said after the Holocaust. Yet here we were, again. Only this time, the killers wore no uniforms, just faces, just names. And the bridge shattered, burned, buried beneath the weight of nearly 1 million souls who never had to die. And just when you'd think the ego might have learned its lesson, after genocide, after world wars, after millions buried beneath flags and ideologies, it doubled down. Enter apartheid. For nearly 50 years, South Africa became a stage for legalized delusion. A government looked its citizens dead in the face and said, "You are not equal. You will never be equal." And just like that, skin color became law. It wasn't just signs that said whites only. It was entire lives split by pigment. Hospitals, schools, sidewalks, love, humanity itself sectioned off like produce. Black South Africans weren't just excluded, they were erased from the future. Their movements tracked, their voices silenced, their land stolen. Entire families uprooted in the name of maintaining the illusion of superiority. Because the ego doesn't want equality, it wants control. And the rest of the world? It hesitated, again. Diplomatic hand-wringing, while generations grew up knowing nothing but segregation, knowing their own country did not want them. But the thing about bridges, even when they're torn down, people remember how to build them. And despite everything, South Africans fought back, marched, sang, rose. Apartheid fell. Does it mean the ego fell too? Nope. It never really left. It just changed its clothes. Apartheid was just a system. So was slavery. So was colonialism. So were the genocides. We abolished them, yes, but abolishing the system isn't the same as healing the wound. The mirror, showing historical injustices, shows us what we don't want to see. That history doesn't end, it rebrands. Unless we confront the ego underneath, history just repeats with better PR. New faces, new slogans, same hunger, same gatekeeping, same silence. Until every child can eat, learn, and dream without limits. Freedom is just inequality with better marketing. We said never again, but again just looked different. The system ends, the pattern doesn't. Until the ego is named, it wins in silence.